The rain was coming down hard when Marcus saw her collapse right in front of his car. The pregnant woman hit the wet pavement like a broken doll, her swollen belly hitting the ground first. Her face was so pale it looked like paper, and her lips were almost blue. "Oh my God!" Marcus jumped out his car, not caring that the rain was soaking through his work shirt. The woman's eyes were closed, and she wasn't moving. Her clothes were torn and dirty, like she had been living on the streets for weeks. Before we begin the story, comment below where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Please subscribe to my channel for more sweet videos like this. Let the story continue. Marcus knelt down beside her, his heart beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. Ma'am, can you hear me?" He gently shook her shoulder. That's when he noticed how thin she was everywhere except her belly. Her arms looked like sticks, and her cheeks were sunken in. This woman was starving. Suddenly, her eyes opened. They were the most beautiful green eyes Marcus had ever seen, but they were filled with fear. She tried to sit up, but she was too weak. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the rain. Is my baby okay?" Marcus looked around. People were walking by with their umbrellas, but nobody stopped to help. It was like they couldn't see the woman lying on the ground. "Don't worry," Marcus said, taking off his jacket to cover her. "I'm going to help you. What's your name?" The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah," she said. "My name is Sarah." Marcus helped her sit up slowly. "Sarah, when did you last eat?" Sarah closed her eyes like she was trying to remember. I don't know. Maybe 3 days ago? I found some bread in a trash can behind the bakery." Marcus felt his stomach turn. A pregnant woman hadn't eaten in 3 days? How was that even possible? "Where do you live?" Marcus asked. Sarah's face crumpled. "I don't have anywhere to go. My boyfriend kicked me out when he found out about the baby. I've been sleeping in the park, but the police keep making me move." Marcus looked at this woman, this stranger, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. It was like his heart was breaking and filling with warmth at the same time. He thought about his own daughter, Emma, waiting for him at home. What if Emma was in trouble like this someday? What if she needed a stranger to help her? "Come on," Marcus said, helping Sarah to her feet. "You're coming home with me." Sarah's eyes went wide. "I can't. I don't even know you. You don't know me." "My name is Marcus," he said with a gentle smile. "And I know enough. I know you're pregnant and hungry, and that's all I need to know." As Marcus helped Sarah into his car, he had no idea that this simple act of kindness would lead to the most amazing thing that had ever happened to him. He couldn't know that Sarah was carrying a secret that would change both their lives forever. But as they drove through the rain toward Marcus's house, Sarah placed her hand on her belly and whispered something that made Marcus's blood run cold. "I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth," Sarah said so quietly that Marcus almost didn't hear her. "But you're going to find out soon enough." Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Find out what?" But Sarah had already closed her eyes, and she didn't answer. What Marcus didn't know was that Sarah wasn't just any pregnant woman. She was running from something or someone, and the baby she was carrying held a secret that would turn Marcus's world upside down. 3 hours earlier, Marcus had been having the worst day of his life. He was sitting in his boss's office, staring at the pink slip in his hands. After 8 years of working at the construction company, they were letting him go. "I'm sorry, Marcus," his boss, Mr. Henderson, said. "The economy is tough right now. We just don't have enough work to keep everyone." Marcus felt like the world was spinning. How was he going to take care of Emma? She was only 7 years old, and she needed so much. Dance classes, school supplies, food, clothes that fit her growing body. And now he had no job. "When do I have to be out?" Marcus asked. "Today's your last day," Mr. Henderson said. "We'll mail your final check." Marcus drove home in a daze. He kept thinking about Emma's face when he would have to tell her they might lose their apartment. She had already lost her mom when she was 3. Car accident. Now she might lose her home too. Emma was staying with Mrs. Garcia, their neighbor, while Marcus was at work. Mrs. Garcia was like a grandmother to Emma, and she never asked for money for watching her. But Marcus always tried to give her something when he could. "Daddy." Emma ran to him when he walked into Mrs. Garcia's apartment. Her dark curls bounced as she jumped into his arms. "Look what I drew." She held up a picture of two stick figures, one big and one small, holding hands in front of a house. At the top, she had written in crayon, "Me and Daddy." Marcus's heart melted. Even on his worst day, Emma could make him smile. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. Mrs. Garcia taught me how to make the house look real," Emma said proudly. "See the windows? And the door." "Thank you for watching her," Marcus said to Mrs. Garcia. The old woman waved her hand. "Emma is no trouble. She's like my own granddaughter." Then she looked at Marcus more closely. "You okay, Mijo? You look sad." Marcus forced a smile. "Just a long day at work." But Mrs. Garcia wasn't fooled. She had raised 5 children of her own, and she knew when someone was hurting. "You know you can talk to me, right? If you need anything." "I know," Marcus said. "Thank you." As Marcus and Emma walked back to their apartment, Emma chatted about her day. She had helped Mrs. Garcia bake cookies, and she had played with the cat, and she had practiced writing her name. "Daddy, can we have pizza for dinner?" Emma asked. Marcus's heart sank. Pizza cost money they didn't have. But he looked at Emma's hopeful face and couldn't say no. "Sure, sweetheart, but just a small one." Their apartment was tiny. Just 1 bedroom, which Emma used, and a living room where Marcus slept on the couch. But Emma had made a home with her drawings on the refrigerator and her toys in every corner. As Marcus ordered the pizza, he did quick math in his head. After rent, utilities, and food, they had maybe $200 left each month. That was barely enough for emergencies, let alone losing a job. "Daddy, are you okay?" Emma asked. She was sitting on the couch, looking at him with those big brown eyes that looked so much like her mother's. Marcus sat down next to her and pulled her close. "I'm fine, baby. Just thinking about grown-up stuff." "Like what?" Marcus paused. He never lied to Emma, but he also didn't want to scare her. "Like how much I love you." Emma giggled. "That's not grown-up stuff. That's just regular stuff." "You're right," Marcus said, kissing the top of her head. "That's the most important stuff." After Emma went to bed, Marcus sat at their tiny kitchen table with a calculator and a pile of bills. No matter how he added the numbers, they didn't work without his job. He had maybe enough money for 2 more months of rent, and that was if they ate nothing but ramen noodles. He thought about calling his sister in California, but she had her own family to worry about. His parents had died when he was in his 20s, and Emma's mom had been an only child. Marcus put his head in his hands. He had always been strong for Emma, but tonight he felt like he was drowning. That's when he heard a knock at the door. Marcus looked at the clock. It was almost 10 at night. Who would be visiting this late? He opened the door to find Mrs. Garcia standing there with a plate covered in aluminum foil. "I made too much food," she said, even though they both knew it wasn't true. "Thought you and Emma might want some." Marcus felt tears in his eyes. "Mrs. Garcia, You don't have to say anything," she said gently. "We all need help sometimes." After Mrs. Garcia left, Marcus ate the homemade soup and felt a little bit of hope return. Maybe things would work out somehow. Maybe tomorrow would be better. But as he was getting ready for bed, Marcus had no idea that tomorrow would bring him face to face with a woman who would change everything. A woman who was carrying a secret that would make him question everything he thought he knew about his life. The next morning, Marcus woke up early and started looking for work. He called every construction company in the phone book, but nobody was hiring. The economy was bad, and experienced workers were taking any job they could get. By afternoon, Marcus was feeling desperate. He had to find something soon, or he and Emma would be in serious trouble. That's when he decided to drive to the other side of town to check on some job leads. He had heard there might be work at a new shopping center being built. It was starting to rain as Marcus drove through the unfamiliar neighborhood. The houses here were bigger and newer than where he lived. People with nice cars and clean clothes walked down the sidewalks. Marcus was thinking about how different his life might be if he had more money when suddenly a figure stumbled into the road right in front of his car. It was a pregnant woman, and she was falling now. As Marcus drove through the rain with Sarah in his passenger seat, he couldn't help but wonder what he had gotten himself into. Sarah seemed nice enough, but there was something she wasn't telling him. Something that made her look scared even when she was trying to smile. "Are you sure it's okay for me to come to your house?" Sarah asked quietly. "I don't want to cause any trouble." "It's okay," Marcus said. "My daughter Emma is 7. She'll probably be excited to meet you." Sarah's face changed when he mentioned Emma. For just a second, she looked like she might cry. "You have a daughter?" "Yes. Her mom died when she was little, so it's just the two of us." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "She's lucky to have you. Not every dad would pick up a stranger off the street." Marcus shrugged. "I couldn't just leave you there. Besides, Emma is always telling me we should help people who need it. She gets that from her mom." "What was she like?" "Your wife?" Marcus smiled, thinking about Maria. She was the kind of person who made everyone feel special. She would have insisted on helping you, just like Emma would. Sarah nodded, but she didn't say anything else. She just stared out the window at the rain. When they got to Marcus's apartment building, Sarah looked around nervously. "This is where you live?" "I know it's not much," Marcus said, feeling embarrassed. "But it's home." "No, it's not that," Sarah said quickly. "It's just, I haven't been inside a real home in so long. I forgot what it feels like." Marcus felt his heart break a little more. How long had this woman been living on the streets? They walked up to the second floor, and Marcus knocked on Mrs. Garcia's door. She opened it with Emma right behind her. "Daddy." Emma ran to hug him, but then she stopped when she saw Sarah. "Who's this?" "This is Sarah," Marcus said. "She's going to stay with us for a while." Emma looked at Sarah's big belly, and her eyes went wide. "Are you going to have a baby?" Sarah smiled, the first real smile Marcus had seen from her. "Yes, I am." "When?" Emma asked. "Soon," Sarah said. "Very soon." Mrs. Garcia looked at Marcus with questions in her eyes, but she didn't say anything. She just nodded and helped Emma gather things. "Thank you for watching her," Marcus said to Mrs. Garcia. "Always," Mrs. Garcia said. Then she whispered, "You're doing a good thing, Mijo, but be careful." As they went into the apartment, Emma chatted excitedly with Sarah about the baby. She wanted to know if it was a boy or girl, and what name Sarah had picked out, and whether the baby would be able to play with her. "I don't know if it's a boy or girl," Sarah said, "and I haven't picked out a name yet." "Why not?" Emma asked. Sarah glanced at Marcus, and he saw that scared look in her eyes again. Because I'm not sure what's going to happen." Marcus made dinner. Just spaghetti and sauce from a jar, but Sarah ate like it was the best meal she'd ever had. She kept saying thank you, and Marcus could see tears in her eyes. "When did you last have a hot meal?" Marcus asked. "I can't remember," Sarah said. "Maybe a month ago?" There was a soup kitchen downtown, but they ran out of food before I got to the front of the line. Emma put down her fork. "A month? But you have to eat. The baby needs food." "I know," Sarah said softly. "I tried my best." Emma got up from her chair and hugged Sarah. "Don't worry. My daddy will take care of you. He's really good at taking care of people." Sarah looked at Marcus over Emma's head, and he saw something that made his chest tight. It was gratitude, but also fear, like she was afraid to hope that things might get better. After dinner, Marcus set up the couch for Sarah to sleep on. It wasn't much, but it was better than the street. "I can't take your bed," Sarah said when Marcus started bringing out blankets. "You're not taking my bed," Marcus said. "I always sleep on the couch. Emma has a bedroom." "But where will you sleep?" Marcus looked around the small apartment. "I'll figure something out. Maybe on the floor." "No," Sarah said firmly. "I'll sleep on the floor. You've already done too much." "Sarah," Marcus said gently, "you're pregnant. You're sleeping on the couch, and that's final." As Marcus was helping Sarah get settled, Emma came out of her room in her pajamas. She was carrying her favorite stuffed animal, a teddy bear named Mr. Buttons that her mom had given her. "Here," Emma said, holding out the bear to Sarah. "Mr. Buttons will help you sleep better." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, I can't take your bear." "It's okay," Emma said. "Mommy always said Mr. Buttons was magic. He makes bad dreams go away." Sarah took the bear with shaking hands. "Thank you, Emma. I'll take very good care of him." After Emma went to bed, Marcus and Sarah sat in the living room. Sarah was holding Mr. Buttons tight, like she was afraid someone might take him away. "You don't have to tell me," Marcus said quietly. "But what happened to you? How did you end up on the streets?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "I was living with my boyfriend, Danny. We'd been together for 2 years. When I told him I was pregnant, he said the baby wasn't his. But it is?" Sarah nodded. "He's the only person I've been with. But Danny, he has a temper. When he gets angry, he says things that aren't true. And sometimes he—" She touched her cheek, and Marcus saw a faint bruise that makeup couldn't quite cover. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. "He hit you?" "Just once," Sarah said quickly. "But that was enough. I left that night. But I didn't have anywhere to go. I don't have any family. My parents died when I was 18, and I don't have any brothers or sisters." "What about friends?" Sarah's face crumpled. "Danny didn't like me having friends. He said they were trying to turn me against him. So I stopped talking to people. I stopped going out. It was just me and him, and then it was just me." Marcus had heard stories like this before, but hearing it from Sarah made it real. "How long have you been on the streets?" 6 weeks, Sarah said. "I tried to get help, but everywhere I went, there was a waiting list. The shelters are full, and the programs for pregnant women have no space. I kept thinking something would work out, but nothing did." "What about a job?" Sarah laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Who's going to hire a pregnant woman with no address and no clean clothes? "I tried, but as soon as they saw me, they said they'd call me back. They never did." Marcus felt terrible. Here he was, worried about losing his job, and Sarah had been living on the streets for 6 weeks. "I'm sorry," he said. "I can't imagine how hard that must have been." "The hardest part," Sarah said, "was worrying about the baby. I kept thinking, what if something happens to me? What if the baby gets hurt because I can't take care of myself?" "Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore," Marcus said. "You can stay here as long as you need to." Sarah looked at him with those green eyes. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Marcus thought about it. "Because someone needs to, and because Emma would never forgive me if I didn't." Sarah smiled. "She's an amazing little girl. She looks just like you." "Actually, she looks like her mom," Marcus said, "but she has my stubborn streak." They talked for a while longer, and Marcus found himself liking Sarah more and more. She was smart and funny, and she clearly loved the baby she was carrying. But there was still something she wasn't telling him, something that made her look over her shoulder when she thought he wasn't looking. Finally, Sarah said she was tired, and Marcus went to sleep on the floor in Emma's room. Emma had made space for him next to her bed, and she had given him one of her pillows. As Marcus lay there in the dark, he thought about the day. This morning, he had been worried about losing his job. Now, he was worried about that plus taking care of a pregnant woman he barely knew. But somehow, helping Sarah felt right. It felt like something Maria would have done, and Emma was already attached to her. Marcus was just falling asleep when he heard Sarah talking in the living room. At first, he thought she was talking to herself, but then he realized she was on the phone. "I told you I can't," Sarah was saying in a whisper. "He's a good man, and he has a little girl. I won't let you hurt them." Marcus sat up. Who was she talking to? "I don't care about the money," Sarah continued. "Some things are more important than money." There was a pause, and then Sarah's voice got scared. "You can't do that. You promised you wouldn't hurt anyone if I cooperated." Marcus felt his blood run cold. What was Sarah involved in? And what had he brought into his home with Emma? "Fine," Sarah said finally. "But this is the last time. After tomorrow, I'm done." Marcus heard her hang up the phone. He lay back down, but he couldn't sleep. What was Sarah going to do tomorrow? And who was she talking to? Part of him wanted to go out there and ask her, but another part of him was afraid of what she might say. As the hours passed, Marcus made a decision. Tomorrow, he would find out what Sarah was hiding, because whatever it was big enough to scare her. And if Sarah was in danger, then Emma might be in danger too. But Marcus had no idea that the truth about Sarah was bigger than he could imagine. And the phone call he had overheard was just the beginning of a story that would change everything he thought he knew about his life. Because Sarah wasn't just running from an abusive boyfriend. She was running from people who wanted to take her baby. And the reason they wanted the baby was something that would make Marcus question everything he believed about fate, love, and family. The next morning would bring answers that Marcus wasn't ready for. But it would also bring a miracle that no one could have expected. As Marcus finally drifted off to sleep, he had no idea that the woman sleeping on his couch was about to give him the greatest gift of his life. A gift that would come at a price he never could have imagined. The rain had stopped, but the storm was just beginning. Marcus woke up to the sound of Emma giggling in the kitchen. For a moment, he forgot about everything that had happened yesterday. Losing his job, finding Sarah, the mysterious phone call. Then he smelled bacon cooking, and he remembered. He got up on the floor and walked to the kitchen. Sarah was standing at the stove, wearing one of his old t-shirts that was way too big for her. Emma was sitting at the table, chattering away about her dreams. And then the unicorn said I could ride on its back. Emma was saying, but first I had to feed it magic carrots. Sarah laughed, a real laugh that made her whole face light up. Magic carrots? What do those taste like? Like regular carrots, but they sparkle, Emma said seriously. Marcus smiled despite his worries. Sarah looked so different this morning. Yesterday, she had looked like she was about to break. Today, she looked almost normal, like she belonged here. Good morning, Marcus said. Sarah turned around, and Marcus saw that she had been crying. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she was trying to smile. Good morning, she said. I hope you don't mind that I cooked breakfast. I found some eggs and bacon in your fridge. Of course I don't mind, Marcus said. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, Sarah said. It's the least I can do after everything you've done for me. As they ate breakfast, Marcus watched Sarah carefully. She kept looking toward the front door, like she was expecting someone to knock. And every time a car drove by outside, she would tense up. Are you okay? Marcus asked. Sarah nodded quickly. I'm fine, just tired. But Marcus knew she wasn't fine. The phone call from last night kept playing in his head. I won't let you hurt them, she had said. Who was them? And what was supposed to happen today? After breakfast, Emma wanted to show Sarah her room. As they walked away, Marcus heard Emma asking Sarah about baby names again. What about Luna? Emma suggested. That means moon. Or maybe star. Or princess. Sarah's voice was soft. Those are beautiful names, Emma. But I'm not sure I'll be the one naming the baby. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What did that mean? While Emma and Sarah were in the bedroom, Marcus quickly looked around the living room. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he needed to know more about the woman he had invited into his home. He found Sarah's purse on the floor next to the couch. Marcus had never gone through someone else's things before, but he had to protect Emma. He opened the purse carefully. Inside, he found a few dollars, some tissues, and a small piece of paper with an address written on it. But what made Marcus's heart stop was the phone, and the last number that had been called. The number was saved in the phone as Dr. Morrison. Marcus stared at the name. Who was Dr. Morrison? And why would Sarah be calling a doctor in the middle of the night? Then Marcus saw something that made his blood run cold. There was a text message on the phone, and it was from Dr. Morrison. Everything is ready for tomorrow. The family is very excited to meet you. Don't forget what we discussed about keeping this quiet. Marcus felt like he couldn't breathe. What family? What was supposed to happen tomorrow? Daddy? Emma's voice came from a bedroom. Can you come here? Marcus quickly put the phone back in Sarah's purse and went to Emma's room. Sarah was sitting on Emma's bed, holding one of Emma's baby dolls. Sarah was telling me about when she was little. Emma said she didn't have very many toys. Sarah was staring at the doll with tears in her eyes. I always wanted a baby doll like this, she said softly, but we couldn't afford one. You can have this one, Emma said immediately. I have lots of dolls. Oh, sweetheart, I couldn't take your doll, Sarah said. It's okay, Emma insisted. Maybe your baby would like to play with it someday. Sarah's face crumpled, and she started crying. Not just tears, real, heartbroken sobs that shook her whole body. Sarah, what's wrong? Marcus asked, sitting down beside her. I can't do this, Sarah cried. I can't keep lying to you. You've been so kind to me, and I've been lying to you since the moment we met. Marcus felt his heart start beating faster. What do you mean? Sarah looked at Emma, who was watching with wide, worried eyes. Emma, sweetie, could you go watch TV for a few minutes? I need to talk to your daddy about grown-up stuff. Emma nodded and left the room, closing the door behind her. Sarah turned to Marcus, and her face was full of pain. I'm not just some random pregnant woman who ended up on the streets, she said. I'm here because of you. What do you mean, because of me? Marcus asked. Sarah took a shaky breath. 3 months ago, I was hired to find you. Someone paid me to track you down and get close to you. Marcus felt like the room was spinning. Hired by who? I can't tell you that, Sarah said. I signed papers that said I couldn't tell you. But Marcus, I need you to know, whatever I was supposed to do, I can't do it anymore. Not after meeting you and Emma. What were you supposed to do? Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah looked at her hands. I was supposed to get pregnant. Marcus stared at her. You were supposed to... What? The baby, Sarah said, touching her belly. The baby isn't random. It's yours. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. That's impossible. We've never... Not like that, Sarah said quickly. They use medical stuff. From when you donated blood at the hospital last year, they said they could make a baby from that. Marcus felt like he was going to be sick. You're saying this baby is mine? Biologically? Sarah nodded, crying harder now. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I know how crazy this sounds, but it's true. The baby is yours and mine, but we never actually... But why? Marcus asked. Why would someone do this? I don't know, Sarah said. They paid me a lot of money to do it. I was desperate. I needed the money for my mom's medical bills, but then she died anyway, and I was stuck in this contract. Marcus stood up and started pacing. This is insane. People can't just make babies like that. It's not legal. I know, Sarah said, but they did it anyway, and now they want the baby back. What do you mean, back? Sarah wiped her eyes. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to give birth at a private clinic. The baby will be given to a family who paid for it. I'll never see it again. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. You're talking about selling a baby. My baby. I know, Sarah said, and I can't do it. That's why I ran away. That's why I was on the streets. I was supposed to stay at a special facility until it was time, but I couldn't stand it anymore. The phone call last night, Marcus said. That was about this, wasn't it? Sarah nodded. Dr. Morrison. He's the one running everything. He said if I don't come back, he'll hurt you and Emma. Marcus felt the protective instincts kick in. He threatened my daughter? He said he knows where you live, where Emma goes to school. He said, his people watching you. Sarah was shaking now. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I just needed the money, and I thought it would be simple. But then I met you, and you're nothing like they said you would be. What did they say I would be like? They said you were a deadbeat dad who didn't care about his kid. They said you were a drunk who could barely take care of himself. They said no one would miss you if something happened. Marcus felt sick. But I'm not like that. No, Sarah said, looking at him with those green eyes. You're the best father I've ever seen. You're kind and generous, and you care about people. Emma is lucky to have you. Marcus sat back down on the bed. Sarah, I need you to tell me everything. Who hired you? What do they want? And how do we stop them? Sarah took a deep breath. The people who hire me work for a company called Genesis Medical. They specialize in what they call designer babies for rich families who can't have kids naturally. Designer babies? They pick the genetic material from people who have qualities the families want. Smart people, attractive people, people with good health. Then they create embryos and hire women to carry them. Marcus felt disgusted. So I was chosen because of my genetics? You were chosen because you're smart, healthy, and good-looking, Sarah said. But also because you're poor and alone. They thought no one would believe you if you tried to fight them. They were wrong, Marcus said grimly. The family who paid for the baby is very rich and very powerful, Sarah continued. They can't have children naturally, and they wanted a baby with specific traits. Your traits. What family? Sarah hesitated. I can't tell you their name. Dr. Morrison said if I ever told anyone, they would hurt people I care about. But you don't have anyone you care about, Marcus said. You said you were all alone. Sarah looked at him, and Marcus saw something in her eyes that made his heart skip. I do now, she said softly. I care about you and Emma. That's why I can't go through with this. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Despite everything, the lies, the deception, the impossible situation, he was starting to care about Sarah too. And the baby she was carrying was his child. What happens if you don't show up tomorrow? Marcus asked. Dr. Morrison said he would come looking for me, and he said he would make sure you and Emma paid for my decision. Marcus stood up again. Then we need to get out of here. All of us. Where will we go? Sarah asked. I don't know yet, Marcus said, but we'll figure it out. First, I need to get Emma somewhere safe. As if she had heard her name, Emma knocked on the door. Can I come in now? Marcus opened the door, and Emma looked back and forth between him and Sarah. Is everything okay? Sarah looked sad. Marcus knelt down to Emma's level. Emma, we need to go on a trip. A really important trip. Emma's eyes lit up. Like a vacation? Something like that. Marcus said, Can you pack some of your favorite things? But only what you can fit in your backpack. Is Sarah coming with us? Emma asked. Marcus looked at Sarah, who was watching them with tears in her eyes. Yes, he said. Sarah is coming with us. Emma clapped her hands. This is the best day ever. As Emma ran to pack her things, Marcus turned back to Sarah. We need to move fast. How much time do we have? Dr. Morrison expects me to be at the clinic by noon tomorrow, Sarah said. But he might come looking for me before then if I don't answer my phone. Marcus looked at his watch. It was already 10 a.m. We need to leave within the hour. Marcus, Sarah said, I need you to know something else. The baby is coming soon. Like, really soon. I've been having contractions all morning. Marcus felt panic rise in his chest. How soon? I don't know, Sarah said, wincing as another contraction hit. But I don't think we have much time. Marcus ran his hands through his hair. Okay, new plan. We get you to a hospital. A real hospital, not this Genesis place. They'll find me at a hospital, Sarah said. Dr. Morrison has connections everywhere. Then we go to a hospital far away from here. Marcus said, My sister lives in California. We'll drive there. That's a long drive, Sarah said. I don't think I can make it that far. Another contraction hit Sarah, and she doubled over in pain. Marcus caught her before she fell. Okay, Marcus said, trying to stay calm. We're going to figure this out. But first, we need to get out of this apartment. As Marcus helped Sarah to her feet, he heard a car door slam outside. Then another. Then voices, men's voices, talking quietly. Marcus went to the window and looked out. There were 3 black cars parked on the street. Men in dark suits were getting out of them. Sarah, Marcus said, his voice tight with fear. They're here. Sarah looked out the window and went pale. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Who are they? Marcus asked. Dr. Morrison's people. Sarah said. They found me. Marcus heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy footsteps, like multiple people walking up. Emma, Marcus called. Come here right now. Emma came running with her backpack. I'm ready for our trip. Marcus picked her up and looked around the apartment. There was no other way out except through the front door, and that's where the men were coming from. Then he heard a knock. Not a normal knock. A hard, demanding knock. Sarah Mitchell. A voice called from outside. We know you're in there. Come out now and nobody gets hurt. Marcus looked at Sarah, who was shaking with fear. The fire escape, he whispered. In the bedroom. They moved quickly toward Emma's room, but then they heard the sound of a key in the lock. They have a key, Sarah whispered. Marcus realized they were trapped. The men were about to come in, and there was nowhere to run. Sarah Mitchell, the voice called again. You have 30 seconds to open this door, or we're coming in. Marcus looked at Emma, who was scared but trying to be brave. He looked at Sarah, who was having another contraction, and he made a decision that would change everything. Stay here, he whispered to Sarah and Emma. I'm going to talk to them. No, Sarah said, grabbing his arm. You don't understand. These people are dangerous. But Marcus was already walking toward the front door. He had spent his whole life protecting Emma, and he wasn't going to stop now. He opened the door to find 3 men in expensive suits. The one in front was tall and thin, with cold gray eyes. The other 2 were bigger, clearly muscle. Mr. Rodriguez, the tall man said, my name is Dr. Morrison. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Marcus stood up straighter. I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Morrison smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. Sarah Mitchell, the pregnant woman who's been staying with you. She's our employee, and she's broken her contract. I don't know anything about a contract, Marcus said. Sarah is a friend who needed help. I'm sure she is, Dr. Morrison said. But she's also carrying a very valuable baby. A baby that belongs to my clients. Babies don't belong to anyone except their parents, Marcus said. Dr. Morrison's smile got colder. This baby is different. This baby was created specifically for a family who has invested a great deal of money in its creation. You're talking about human trafficking, Marcus said. I'm talking about business, Dr. Morrison said. Now, where's Sarah? Marcus heard a crash from the bedroom, followed by Emma's scream. His heart stopped. Emma! Marcus tried to run toward the bedroom, but one of the big men grabbed him. Sarah! Dr. Morrison called. I know you can hear me. Come out now, or Mr. Rodriguez's daughter will pay for your selfishness. Marcus struggled against the man holding him. Let me go. Emma! Dr. Morrison nodded to the second man, who walked toward the bedroom. Marcus heard Emma crying and Sarah's voice trying to comfort her. Please, Marcus said. Whatever you want, just don't hurt my daughter. I don't want to hurt anyone, Dr. Morrison said. I just want what's mine. Then Sarah appeared in the doorway, holding Emma's hand. Emma was crying, and Sarah was pale with pain. Let them go, Sarah said. I'll come with you willingly if you let them go. Dr. Morrison smiled his cold smile. I'm afraid it's not that simple anymore, Sarah. You involve civilians in our business. That has consequences. What do you mean? Sarah asked. I mean, Dr. Morrison said, that Mr. Rodriguez now knows too much. He can't be allowed to go free. Marcus felt ice in his veins. What are you saying? I'm saying, Dr. Morrison said, that you and your daughter are coming with us, at least until this matter is resolved. No, Sarah said firmly. Our deal was that no one would get hurt if I cooperated. I'm cooperating. Our deal changed when you ran away, Dr. Morrison said. Now we have to make sure you don't run away again. Marcus looked at Emma, who was clinging to Sarah's hand. His daughter was terrified, and it was his fault. He had brought this danger into their lives by trying to help Sarah. But then Marcus saw something that gave him hope. Emma was holding something in her other hand, something small and white. It was Mrs. Garcia's business card, the one she had given Emma in case of emergencies. Emma was 7 years old, but she was smart. She knew this was an emergency. As the men argued about what to do with them, Emma slowly moved toward the window. She was so small and quiet that nobody noticed her, until she suddenly threw the window open and screamed at the top of her lungs. Help! Help! Bad men are trying to take U.S. The men spun around, and Marcus saw his chance. He broke free from the man holding him and lunged toward Dr. Morrison. Run! Marcus shouted to Sarah and Emma. Get out of here! What happened next would change everything, because Emma's scream had been heard by someone who was about to become their unexpected hero. And the baby that Sarah was carrying was about to arrive at the worst possible moment. The miracle that no one expected was about to begin. Emma's scream echoed through the apartment building like a fire alarm. Within seconds, doors started opening all down the hallway. Mrs. Garcia appeared first, still wearing her cooking apron, but she wasn't alone. Behind her was a man Marcus had never seen before, tall, muscular, wearing a police uniform. "What's going on here?" the police officer demanded, his hand moving to his radio. Dr. Morrison's face went white. This was not part of his plan. "Officer Rodriguez," Mrs. Garcia said urgently. These men broke into Marcus's apartment. Marcus felt his heart skip. Officer Rodriguez? Was this some kind of coincidence? The police officer looked at Marcus with confusion. "Are you Marcus Rodriguez?" "Yes," Marcus said, still struggling against the man holding him. "I'm Officer David Rodriguez," the policeman said. "And if my grandmother is right, we need to talk." Marcus stared at the officer. "Grandmother?" Mrs. Garcia was this man's grandmother? Dr. Morrison stepped forward smoothly. "Officer, there's been a misunderstanding. We're medical professionals here to help a patient who's in labor. Medical professionals don't break into apartments," Officer Rodriguez said coldly. "And they don't grab people against their will." Sarah let out a cry of pain and doubled over. Another contraction, stronger than before. "The baby's coming," Sarah gasped. I can't hold it back anymore." Emma ran to Mrs. Garcia, who gathered her up in her arms. "Abuela, the bad men want to take Sarah's baby." Mrs. Garcia's eyes flashed with anger. "Nobody takes babies in my building." Officer Rodriguez spoke into his radio. "I need backup at 425 Maple Street, apartment 2B. Possible kidnapping in progress." Dr. Morrison's calm mask started to slip. "Officer, you don't understand the situation here." "Then explain it," Officer Rodriguez said. "Why are you in this man's apartment? Why is he being restrained? And why is a pregnant woman in distress?" While Dr. Morrison tried to come up with an answer, Marcus caught Sarah's eye. She was leaning against the wall, breathing hard through another contraction. "How far apart are they?" Marcus asked quietly. 2 minutes, Sarah whispered. "Maybe less." Marcus realized they had a bigger problem than Dr. Morrison and his men. Sarah was about to give birth right here in his apartment. "Officer Rodriguez," Marcus said, "we need an ambulance." "She's in labor." "Already called," Officer Rodriguez said. "Should be here in 5 minutes." But Dr. Morrison heard this and stepped forward. "That won't be necessary. We have our own medical transport outside." "You mean those black cars with no hospital markings?" Officer Rodriguez asked. "I don't think so." More neighbors had gathered in the hallway now. Mr. Peterson from 2A, the young couple from 1C, even old Mr. Williams from the first floor who never came out for anything. Dr. Morrison looked around at all the witnesses and made a decision. He nodded to his men. "We're leaving," he said. "But this isn't over, Sarah. You know what you signed." "Wait," Officer Rodriguez said. "Nobody's leaving until I understand what's happening here." But Dr. Morrison was already moving toward the door. "You have no grounds to hold us, officer. We haven't committed any crimes. Breaking and entering, assault, threatening a pregnant woman." Officer Rodriguez counted on his fingers. "Should I go on?" Dr. Morrison paused. "You have no proof of any of that." "I have witnesses," Officer Rodriguez said, gesturing to the neighbors, "including my grandmother, who saw you force your way into this apartment." Mrs. Garcia nodded vigorously. These men had keys they shouldn't have, and they grabbed Marcus like he was a criminal. Dr. Morrison realized he was trapped. Too many people had seen too much. "Sarah," he said, his voice cold as ice, "remember what we discussed about consequences." Sarah lifted her head, and Marcus saw something change in her eyes. The fear was still there, but now there was anger too. "I remember," Sarah said, "but I also remember that you lied to me about everything." "What did he lie about?" Officer Rodriguez asked. Sarah looked at Marcus, then at Emma in Mrs. Garcia's arms. "He told me Marcus was a bad father. He said no one would care if something happened to him. That's ridiculous, Mrs. Garcia said angrily. Marcus is the best father in this building. Emma is the happiest little girl I know. Dr. Morrison's jaw tightened. Sarah, you're making a mistake. No, Sarah said, another contraction hitting her. The mistake was trusting you in the first place. The sound of sirens filled the air. The ambulance was getting closer. Dr. Morrison made another quick decision. Gentlemen, we're leaving. Now. I don't think so, Officer Rodriguez said, stepping in front of the door. That's when one of Dr. Morrison's men made a critical error. He reached inside his jacket, like he was going for a weapon. Officer Rodriguez reacted instantly. In one smooth motion, he had his gun drawn and pointed at the man. Hand where I can see them. Officer Rodriguez shouted. The neighbors scattered, with Mrs. Garcia pulling Emma into her apartment. This is not what I wanted, Dr. Morrison said through gritted teeth. Then you should have thought of that before you brought armed men into a building full of families, Officer Rodriguez said. The ambulance sirens were getting louder. They would be here any moment. Sarah cried out again, and this time contraction didn't stop. Marcus, she gasped. Something's wrong. The baby's coming right now. Marcus knelt beside her. Okay, Sarah, it's going to be okay. But Marcus had no idea how to deliver a baby. Emma had been born in a hospital with doctors and nurses. He was a construction worker, not a medical professional. Officer Rodriguez, Marcus called. Do you know anything about delivering babies? Not really, Officer Rodriguez admitted, keeping his gun trained on Dr. Morrison's men. That's when Mrs. Garcia appeared again. I do, she said firmly. I helped deliver my youngest son when the doctor couldn't get to our house in time. She handed Emma to Mr. Peterson. Keep her safe, she told him. Mrs. Garcia knelt beside Sarah. How long have you been in labor, Mija? Since yesterday, Sarah panted. But it got really bad this morning. And you didn't say anything? Mrs. Garcia scolded. Babies don't wait for convenient times. Dr. Morrison was watching all of this with growing frustration. Sarah, you're making this much more complicated than it needs to be. Come with us now, and we can ensure the baby is born safely. Safely for who? Sarah shot back. You are the baby? For everyone involved, Dr. Morrison said. That's when Officer Rodriguez's backup arrived. Marcus heard car doors slamming and footsteps running up the stairs. 2 more police officers appeared in the doorway, and suddenly Dr. Morrison and his men were outnumbered. What's the situation? One of the new officers asked. Attempted kidnapping, Officer Rodriguez said, and we have a woman in active labor. The paramedics arrived right behind the police officers. The small apartment was suddenly full of people. Everyone except medical personnel needs to step back, the lead paramedic said. But as the paramedic knelt beside Sarah, Dr. Morrison made one last desperate attempt. I'm Dr. Morrison, he said to the paramedic. This woman is my patient. I need overseer care. The paramedic looked up. Do you have identification? Hospital credentials. Dr. Morrison hesitated just long enough for Sarah to speak up. He's not my doctor, Sarah said clearly. I don't want him anywhere near me or my baby. The paramedic nodded. Then he doesn't get near you. Dr. Morrison's face turned red with anger. This woman is under contract. The baby she's carrying belongs to my clients. Babies don't belong to anyone except their parents, the paramedic said firmly. And even if there were some kind of legal arrangement, it wouldn't give you the right to force medical care on someone. Officer Rodriguez stepped forward. Dr. Morrison, you and your associates are under arrest. On what charges? Dr. Morrison demanded. We'll start with breaking and entering and work our way up, Officer Rodriguez said. Read them their rights. As the other officers moved to arrest Dr. Morrison and his men, Sarah let out a scream that made everyone in the room freeze. The baby's coming, the paramedic said urgently. We need to get her to the hospital right now. There's no time, Mrs. Garcia said, looking at Sarah. This baby is coming now. The paramedic quickly examined Sarah and nodded grimly. She's right. We're delivering here. Marcus felt panic rise in his chest. Is that safe? It's what's happening, the the paramedic said. I need everyone except essential personnel to clear the room. I'm staying, Marcus said firmly. So am I, Mrs. Garcia added. The paramedic looked at Sarah. Who do you want here? Sarah looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. You, she said. I want you here. As the police officers led Dr. Morrison and his men away, Dr. Morrison called back over his shoulder. This isn't over, Sarah. You can't run from your contract forever. Watch me, Sarah said, then cried out as another contraction hit. The paramedic worked quickly, setting up equipment and preparing for the delivery. Mrs. Garcia held Sarah's hand and spoke to her in soothing Spanish. Marcus found himself holding Sarah's other hand, even though he had only known her for 2 days. I'm scared, Sarah whispered to him. Me too, Marcus admitted, but we're going to get through this. Marcus, Sarah said urgently, there's something else I need to tell you. About the baby. What about the baby? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The genetic testing they did, there might be complications. Dr. Morrison said the process wasn't perfect. Marcus felt his heart stop. What kind of complications? I don't know, Sarah said. He wouldn't tell me. He said it would be better if I didn't know. The paramedic looked up sharply. What kind of genetic testing? Sarah told him quickly about Genesis Medical and what they had done. The paramedic's face went dark. That's highly illegal and dangerous. We need to get her to a hospital immediately. I thought you said there was no time, Marcus said. There isn't time for a normal delivery, the paramedic said. But if there might be genetic complications, we need specialists. That's when Mrs. Garcia spoke up. My grandson works at Children's Hospital. They have the best genetics team in the state. Officer Rodriguez nodded. I can get us there fast. Emergency escort. The paramedic made a decision. Let's move her. Carefully. As they prepared to transport Sarah, she grabbed Marcus's arm. Promise me something, she said. Anything. If something happens to me, don't let them take the baby. Promise me you'll protect our child. Marcus looked into her green eyes and felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't just about helping a stranger anymore. This was about his child, his family. I promise, he said. As they carried Sarah down the stairs to the ambulance, Marcus realized that Dr. Morrison had been right about one thing. This wasn't over. But what Dr. Morrison didn't understand was that he had just made the biggest mistake in his life. He had threatened Marcus's family. And now Marcus was going to fight back. The ambulance raced through the streets with sirens blaring. In the back, Sarah held Marcus's hand as the contractions got stronger and closer together. Almost there, the paramedic said. Just hold on. But Sarah wasn't just holding on. She was preparing to give birth to a baby that had been created in a laboratory, carried by a woman who had been hired to give it away, and now belonged to a father who had never asked for any of this. A baby that might have complications no one understood. A baby that powerful people would do anything to get their hands on. A baby that was about to change everything Marcus thought he knew about love, family, and what it meant to protect the people you care about. As the hospital came into view, Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand. Whatever happens, she said, I want you to know that these past 2 days have been the happiest I've felt in years. Marcus squeezed back. For me, too. Neither of them knew that in a few minutes, they would discover something about the baby that would make Dr. Morrison's threats seem like nothing compared to what was coming. Because the miracle that no one expected wasn't just that Sarah and Marcus had found each other. The miracle was what their baby was going to be able to do. The delivery room at Children's Hospital was filled with more doctors than Marcus had ever seen for one baby. Sarah was surrounded by specialists, geneticists, neonatologists, and experts in what the head doctor called experimental reproductive medicine. Dr. Patricia Chun, the head of genetics, had been reading Sarah's file with a deep frown on her face. This is unprecedented, Dr. Chun said to Marcus as Sarah went through another contraction. The genetic manipulation described in these documents. It shouldn't be possible with current technology. What does that mean? Marcus asked. It means, Dr. Chun said carefully, that whoever did this had access to technology that officially doesn't exist. Sarah cried out, and the delivery nurse checked her progress. "She's ready," the nurse announced. "This baby is coming now." What happened next would be talked about in medical journals for years to come. The baby was born in one swift movement, sliding into the world with barely a sound. But instead of crying like most newborns, the baby opened its eyes immediately and looked around the room with an alertness that made everyone freeze. The baby's eyes were the most unusual color anyone had ever seen. Not quite blue, not quite green, but something in between that seemed to shimmer in the light. 10 fingers, 10 toes, the nurse said, checking the baby quickly. "Appears perfectly healthy." But Dr. Chun was staring at the baby with an expression of wonder and concern. "Dr. Chun?" Marcus asked, "Is everything okay?" "The baby's neural activity," Dr. Chun said, looking at the monitors. "It's extraordinary." "What do you mean?" Dr. Chun showed Marcus the readout. "Most newborns have very basic brain activity for the first few weeks. This baby's brain is functioning at a level I'd expect to see in a much older child." Sarah, exhausted but alert, looked at her baby. "What does that mean? Is something wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," Dr. Chin said quickly, "but this baby is unique." The nurse placed the baby in Sarah's arms, and something amazing happened. The baby immediately stopped moving and gazed up at Sarah with those unusual eyes. Then the baby turned its head and looked directly at Marcus. "It's like the baby knows us," Marcus whispered. "That's impossible," Dr. Chin said. "Newborns can't focus their eyes like that." But as they watched, the baby seemed to be studying both Sarah and Marcus with an intelligence that was clearly beyond normal. "There's something else," Dr. Chin said, looking at more test results. "The genetic markers we're seeing, they suggest capabilities that are theoretically impossible." "What kind of capabilities?" Sarah asked. Dr. Chin hesitated. "Enhanced cognitive function, possibly accelerated development, and some markers that we don't fully understand yet." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "You're talking about genetic engineering." "Advanced genetic engineering," Dr. Chun confirmed. "The kind that will require technology years ahead of anything publicly available." That's when Officer Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. "Marcus, we have a problem." "What now?" "Dr. Morrison made bail. He's already out of jail." Marcus felt a protective instincts flare. "How is that possible?" "Expensive lawyers," Officer Rodriguez said grimly. "And apparently, he has powerful friends." The charges were reduced to trespassing. Sarah held the baby closer. "He said he would come for us." "There's more," Officer Rodriguez continued. "We did some checking on Genesis Medical. Officially, the company doesn't exist." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "I mean it's a shell company. The address on file leads to an empty office building. The phone numbers are disconnected. It's like the whole organization vanished the moment we started investigating." Dr. Chin looked up from the baby's chart. "That's not uncommon for illegal genetic research operations. They set up, do their work, and disappear when anyone gets too close." "But they can't just disappear," Sarah said. "They have my contract. They have records." "Actually," Officer Rodriguez said, "they can, and they did. We can't find any evidence that Genesis Medical ever existed." Marcus felt anger building in his chest. "So they can just get away with this?" "Not necessarily," Dr. Chin said. "The baby itself is evidence. If we can prove genetic manipulation occurred, we might be able to build a case." "How long would that take?" Sarah asked. "Months," Dr. Chin admitted. "Maybe years." Sarah looked down at the baby, who was still gazing up at her with those remarkable eyes. "We don't have years. Dr. Morrison won't wait that long." That's when Emma's voice came from the hallway. "Daddy, can I see the baby now?" Mrs. Garcia appeared with Emma, who had been waiting anxiously outside. "Is it okay?" Marcus asked Sarah. Sarah smiled. The first real smile Marcus had seen from her all day. "Of course." Emma approached the bed carefully, her eyes wide with wonder. "Is it a boy or a girl?" "A girl," Sarah said. "Would you like to meet her?" Emma nodded eagerly. Sarah carefully placed the baby in Emma's arms, with Marcus helping to support her. The moment Emma held the baby, something extraordinary happened. The baby, who had been alert but quiet, suddenly smiled. Not the reflexive smile of a newborn, but a real, intentional smile. Did she just smile at me? Emma asked in amazement. Dr. Chin stepped closer, studying the baby. That's not medically possible. Babies don't develop intentional smiling for weeks. But the baby was clearly smiling at Emma, her unusual eyes bright and focused. She likes you, Sarah said to Emma. What's her name? Emma asked. Sarah looked at Marcus. I don't know. I was always told I wouldn't get to name her. Then we'll name her now, Marcus said. What do you think, Emma? You suggested some names yesterday. Emma thought seriously. She looks like a Luna, because her eyes are like the moon, all shimmery and magical. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Luna, she repeated. That's perfect. Dr. Chun was still watching Luna with fascination. I need to run more tests. This level of development is unprecedented. What kind of tests? Marcus asked protectively. Nothing invasive, Dr. Chin assured him. Just brain scans, reflex tests. Things to help us understand what we're dealing with. As Dr. Chin prepared for the tests, Officer Rodriguez pulled Marcus aside. There's something else you need to know, he said quietly. We traced Dr. Morrison's real identity. His name isn't Morrison, and he's not just a doctor. What is he? He's Dr. James Crawford. He used to work for the government on classified genetic research projects. He was fired 3 years ago for conducting unauthorized experiments. Marcus felt his blood run cold. What kind of experiments? Enhance human genetics, trying to create people with superhuman abilities. And now he's working on his own, Marcus said. It looks that way. And Marcus, there's more. We found records of other babies. Luna isn't the first. How many others? At least 6 that we know of, all born in the last 2 years, all with genetic enhancements. Marcus looked to the window at Luna, who was now sleeping peacefully in Sarah's arms. Where are the other babies now? Officer Rodriguez's face was grim. We don't know. They all disappeared shortly after birth. The implications hit Marcus like a freight train. He took them. That's what we think. And now he wants Luna. Marcus made a decision. Then we need to disappear too. Running isn't the answer, Officer Rodriguez said. This man has resources, connections. He'll find you eventually. Then what do you suggest? We fight back. We expose what he's doing. We make sure the world knows about Genesis Medical and what they've been doing to people. Sarah, who had been listening from her bed, spoke up. He'll kill us before he lets that happen. Not if we move first, Officer Rodriguez said. I have contacts in the FBI, people who specialize in cases like this. Dr. Chin returned with the test results, and her face was pale. You need to see this, she said, showing them Luna's brain scan. The image on the screen looked like no baby's brain scan Marcus had ever seen. Areas that should have been dormant were actively firing. Connections that normally took months to develop were already formed. This baby's brain is developing at an accelerated rate, Dr. Chin explained. At this pace, she'll be functioning at the level of a much older child within weeks. Is that dangerous? Sarah asked. I don't know. Dr. Chin admitted, this is completely uncharted territory. Emma, who was still holding Luna, looked up at the adults. She's special, isn't she? Very special, Marcus said. Like magic special? Marcus looked at Luna's unusual eyes and thought about everything that had happened. A baby created from his genetic material without his knowledge. A woman who had risked everything to protect a child she was supposed to give away. A little girl whose first smile had been intentional and perfect. Yeah, Marcus said, like magic. But as Marcus spoke those words, alarms started going off throughout the hospital. Security alert. A voice came over the intercom. We have unauthorized personnel in the building. All units respond. Officer Rodriguez immediately went to a window and looked down at the parking lot. Black cars, he said grimly. A lot of them. Dr. Morrison? Sarah asked, fear returning to her voice. Crawford, Officer Rodriguez corrected, and he brought friends. Dr. Chen moved quickly to Luna's bassinet. We need to move her to the secure wing. Now. But before anyone could move, the lights in the room flickered and went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. He's cutting the power, Officer Rodriguez said. Standard extraction protocol. Marcus picked up Emma, while Sarah struggled to sit up, still holding Luna. There's another way out, Dr. Chen said, through the research wing. But we have to move now. As they prepared to leave the room, Luna opened her eyes and looked directly at Marcus. For just a moment, Marcus could have sworn he saw something in those unusual eyes that looked almost like understanding. Like Luna knew what was happening and was trying to communicate. It's okay, Marcus whispered to her. Daddy's here. I'm going to protect you. The word daddy came out naturally, and Marcus realized that's exactly what he was now, not just because of genetics or circumstances, but because he had chosen to be. As they moved through the darkened hallways of the hospital, Marcus carried Emma, while Sarah carried Luna. Behind them, they could hear voices, men's voices, getting closer. Dr. Crawford had found them, but what he didn't know was that Luna wasn't just any enhanced baby. The genetic modifications that had been done to her were more extensive than anyone realized. And in a few hours, Luna would do something that would prove she was truly a miracle that no one had expected. Something that would change not just Marcus and Sarah's lives, but the entire world's understanding of what was possible. The hunt for Luna was just beginning, but so was Luna's own incredible journey. And the biggest surprise of all was still to come. The delivery room at Children's Hospital was filled with more doctors than Marcus had ever seen for one baby. Sarah was surrounded by specialists, geneticists, neonatologists, and experts in what the head doctor called experimental reproductive medicine. Dr. Patricia Chun, the head of genetics, had been reading Sarah's file with a deep frown on her face. This is unprecedented, Dr. Chen said to Marcus as Sarah went through another contraction. The genetic manipulation described in these documents, it shouldn't be possible with current technology. What does that mean? Marcus asked. It means, Dr. Chen said carefully, that whoever did this had access to technology that officially doesn't exist. Sarah cried out, and the delivery nurse checked her progress. She's ready, the nurse announced. This baby is coming now. What happened next will be talked about in medical journals for years to come. The baby was born in one swift movement, sliding into the world with barely a sound. But instead of crying like most newborns, the baby opened its eyes immediately and looked around the room with an alertness that made everyone freeze. The baby's eyes were the most unusual color anyone had ever seen. Not quite blue, not quite green, but something in between that seemed to shimmer in the light. 10 fingers, 10 toes, the nurse said, checking the baby quickly. Appears perfectly healthy. But Dr. Chun was staring at the baby with an expression of wonder and concern. Dr. Chun? Marcus asked, is everything okay? The baby's neural activity, Dr. Chun said, looking at the monitors. It's extraordinary. What do you mean? Dr. Chen showed Marcus the readout. Most newborns have very basic brain activity for the first few weeks. This baby's brain is functioning at a level I'd expect to see in a much older child. Sarah, exhausted but alert, looked at her baby. What does that mean? Is something wrong? Nothing's wrong, Dr. Chen said quickly, but this baby is unique. The nurse placed the baby in Sarah's arms, and something amazing happened. The baby immediately stopped moving and gazed up at Sarah with those unusual eyes. Then the baby turned its head and looked directly at Marcus. It's like the baby knows us, Marcus whispered. That's impossible, Dr. Chen said. Newborns can't focus their eyes like that. But as they watched, the baby seemed to be studying both Sarah and Marcus with an intelligence that was clearly beyond normal. There's something else, Dr. Chen said, looking at more test results. The genetic markers we're seeing, they suggest capabilities that are theoretically impossible. What kind of capabilities? Sarah asked. Dr. Chen hesitated. Enhanced cognitive function, possibly accelerated development. and some markers that we don't fully understand yet. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. You're talking about genetic engineering. Advanced genetic engineering, Dr. Chin confirmed. The kind that would require technology years ahead of anything publicly available. That's when Officer Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. Marcus, we have a problem. What now? Dr. Morrison made bail. He's already out of jail. Marcus felt a protective instincts flare. How is that possible? Expensive lawyers, Officer Rodriguez said grimly. And apparently, he has powerful friends. The charges were reduced to trespassing. Sarah held the baby closer. He said he would come for us. There's more, Officer Rodriguez continued. We did some checking on Genesis Medical. Officially, the company doesn't exist. What do you mean? Marcus asked. I mean, it's a shell company. The address on file leads to an empty office building. The phone numbers are disconnected. It's like the whole organization vanished the moment we started investigating. Dr. Chin looked up from the baby's chart. That's not uncommon for illegal genetic research operations. They set up, do their work, and disappear when anyone gets too close. But they can't just disappear, Sarah said. They have my contract. They have records. Actually, Officer Rodriguez said, they can, and they did. We can't find any evidence that Genesis Medical ever existed. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. So they can just get away with this? Not necessarily, Dr. Chin said. The baby itself is evidence. If we can prove genetic manipulation occurred, we might be able to build a case. How long would that take? Sarah asked. Months, Dr. Chin admitted. Maybe years. Sarah looked down at the baby, who was still gazing up at her with those remarkable eyes. We don't have years. Dr. Morrison won't wait that long. That's when Emma's voice came from the hallway. Daddy, can I see the baby now? Mrs. Garcia appeared with Emma, who had been waiting anxiously outside. Is it okay? Marcus asked Sarah. Sarah smiled. The first real smile Marcus had seen from her all day. Of course. Emma approached the bed carefully, her eyes wide with wonder. Is it a boy or a girl? A girl, Sarah said. Would you like to meet her? Emma nodded eagerly. Sarah carefully placed the baby in Emma's arms, with Marcus helping to support her. The moment Emma held the baby, something extraordinary happened. The baby, who had been alert but quiet, suddenly smiled. Not the reflexive smile of a newborn, but a real, intentional smile. Did she just smile at me? Emma asked in amazement. Dr. Chin stepped closer, studying the baby. That's not medically possible. Babies don't develop intentional smiling for weeks. But the baby was clearly smiling at Emma, her unusual eyes bright and focused. She likes you, Sarah said to Emma. What's her name? Emma asked. Sarah looked at Marcus. I don't know. I was always told I wouldn't get to name her. Then we'll name her now, Marcus said. What do you think, Emma? You suggested some names yesterday. Emma thought seriously. She looks like a Luna, because her eyes are like the moon, all shimmery and magical. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Luna, she repeated. That's perfect. Dr. Chun was still watching Luna with fascination. I need to run more tests. This level of development is unprecedented. What kind of tests? Marcus asked protectively. Nothing invasive, Dr. Chin assured him. Just brain scans, reflex tests. Things to help us understand what we're dealing with. As Dr. Chin prepared for the tests, Officer Rodriguez pulled Marcus aside. There's something else you need to know, he said quietly. We traced Dr. Morrison's real identity. His name isn't Morrison, and he's not just a doctor. What is he? He's Dr. James Crawford. He used to work for the government on classified genetic research projects. He was fired 3 years ago for conducting unauthorized experiments. Marcus felt his blood run cold. What kind of experiments? Enhance human genetics, trying to create people with superhuman abilities. And now he's working on his own, Marcus said. It looks that way. And Marcus, there's more. We found records of other babies. Luna isn't the first. How many others? At least 6 that we know of, all born in the last 2 years, all with genetic enhancements. Marcus looked through the window at Luna, who was now sleeping peacefully in Sarah's arms. Where are the other babies now? Officer Rodriguez's face was grim. We don't know. They all disappeared shortly after birth. The implications hit Marcus like a freight train. He took them. That's what we think. And now he wants Luna. Marcus made a decision. Then we need to disappear too. Running isn't the answer, Officer Rodriguez said. This man has resources, connections. He'll find you eventually. Then what do you suggest? We fight back. We expose what he's doing. We make sure the world knows about Genesis Medical and what they've been doing to people. Sarah, who had been listening from her bed, spoke up. He'll kill us before he lets that happen. Not if we move first, Officer Rodriguez said. I have contacts in the FBI, people who specialize in cases like this. Dr. Chin returned with the test results, and her face was pale. You need to see this, she said, showing them Luna's brain scan. The image on the screen looked like no baby's brain scan Marcus had ever seen. Areas that should have been dormant were actively firing. Connections that normally took months to develop were already formed. This baby's brain is developing at an accelerated rate, Dr. Chin explained. At this pace, she'll be functioning at the level of a much older child within weeks. Is that dangerous? Sarah asked. I don't know, Dr. Chin admitted. This is completely uncharted territory. Emma, who was still holding Luna, looked up at the adults. She's special, isn't she? Very special, Marcus said. Like magic special? Marcus looked at Luna's unusual eyes and thought about everything that had happened. A baby created from his genetic material, without his knowledge. A woman who had risked everything to protect a child she was supposed to give away. A little girl whose first smile had been intentional and perfect. Yeah, Marcus said, like magic. But as Marcus spoke those words, alarms started going off throughout the hospital. Security alert. A voice came over the intercom. We have unauthorized personnel in the building. All units respond. Officer Rodriguez immediately went to the window and looked down at the parking lot. Black cars, he said grimly. A lot of them. Dr. Morrison? Sarah asked, fear returning to her voice. Crawford. Officer Rodriguez corrected. And he brought friends. Dr. Chin moved quickly to Luna's bassinet. We need to move her to the secure wing. Now! But before anyone could move, the lights in the room flickered and went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. He's cutting the power, Officer Rodriguez said. Standard extraction protocol. Marcus picked up Emma, while Sarah struggled to sit up, still holding Luna. There's another way out, Dr. Chin said, through the research wing. But we have to move now. As they prepared to leave the room, Luna opened her eyes and looked directly at Marcus. For just a moment, Marcus could have sworn he saw something in those unusual eyes that looked almost like understanding. Like Luna knew what was happening and was trying to communicate. It's okay, Marcus whispered to her. Daddy's here. I'm going to protect you. The word daddy came out naturally, and Marcus realized that's exactly what he was now. Not just because of genetics or circumstances, but because he had chosen to be. As they moved through the darkened hallways of the hospital, Marcus carried Emma while Sarah carried Luna. Behind them, they could hear voices, men's voices, getting closer. Dr. Crawford had found them. But what he didn't know was that Luna wasn't just any enhanced baby. The genetic modifications that had been done to her were more extensive than anyone realized. And in a few hours, Luna would do something that would prove she was truly a miracle that no one had expected. Something that would change not just Marcus and Sarah's lives, but the entire world's understanding of what was possible. The hunt for Luna was just beginning, but so was Luna's own incredible journey. And the biggest surprise of all was still to come. The research wing at Children's Hospital was like a maze in the dark. Emergency lights cast long shadows as Marcus carried Emma, and Sarah struggled to keep up, still weak from giving birth just hours ago. This way, Dr. Chin whispered, leading them through a corridor lined with laboratory doors. Behind them, they could hear footsteps and voices getting closer. Dr. Crawford's men were searching the hospital floor by floor. "In here," Dr. Chin said, opening a door marked Genetic Research Lab, authorized personnel only. They slipped inside, and Dr. Chin locked the door behind them. The lab was filled with computers and equipment that hummed quietly in the darkness. "How long before they find us?" Marcus asked. "Not long," Officer Rodriguez said. He had been trying to call for backup, but his radio wasn't working. "They're jamming communications." Sarah sat down heavily in a chair, exhausted. Luna was still in her arms, awake and alert despite everything happening around her. "There has to be another way out," Marcus said. Dr. Chin nodded. "There's a service elevator that goes directly to the parking garage, but it's on the other side of the building." "That's too far," Officer Rodriguez said. "We'd never make it without being seen." Emma tugged on Marcus's shirt. "Daddy, what if we call Mrs. Garcia? She always knows what to do." Marcus smiled despite their situation. "That's a good idea, sweetheart, but our phones aren't working." That's when something extraordinary happened. Luna, who had been quiet in Sarah's arms, suddenly made a sound. Not crying. Something else. It was almost like she was trying to talk. "What was that?" Dr. Chin asked, moving closer. Luna made the sound again, and this time everyone heard it clearly. It sounded like "Mama." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Did she just... "Babies don't say their first words for months," Dr. Chin said in amazement. "This is impossible." But Luna wasn't finished. She looked directly at Marcus and made another sound. "Da-da." Marcus felt his heart nearly stop. "She's trying to talk to us." Emma clapped her hands quietly. "She's so smart." Luna then did something even more amazing. She looked around the room with those unusual eyes, taking in all the equipment and computers. Then she made a sound that was clearly different from the others, a high-pitched tone that seemed to go on and on. Suddenly, every computer in the lab turned on. "What just happened?" Officer Rodriguez asked. Dr. Chin stared at the screens in disbelief. "The computers! They're all connected to the hospital's main system now. But that should be impossible without access codes." Luna made the sound again, and the screens began displaying information, security camera feeds from throughout the hospital. "She's accessing the computer system," Dr. Chin whispered. "A newborn baby is hacking into the hospital's network." On the screens, they could see Dr. Crawford's men searching through different floors. There were at least 12 of them, all wearing dark clothes and carrying equipment. "How is she doing this?" Sarah asked, looking down at Luna in wonder. "The genetic modifications," Dr. Chin said. "They must have enhanced not just her brain development, but her ability to interface with electronic systems." Luna made another sound, and the screens changed to show the building's layout. Then they showed a route highlighted in green, a path from their current location to the service elevator. "She's showing us the way out," Marcus said in amazement. "This is beyond anything I've ever seen," Dr. Chin said. "The neural pathways required for this kind of interface. It shouldn't be possible." Officer Rodriguez looked at the route Luna had mapped out. "According to this, we can avoid Crawford's men if we take the maintenance corridors. But how do we know it's accurate?" Sarah asked. Luna made that high-pitched sound again, and the screen showed real-time camera feeds that suggest a route. It was completely clear. "She's not just showing us the way," Marcus realized. "She's monitoring it for us." They gathered their things and prepared to move. But before they could leave, they heard voices right outside the lab door. "Check this room," a man's voice said. Everyone froze. Luna looked up at the adults around her, and Marcus could swear he saw understanding in her eyes. Luna made another sound, softer this time, almost like a whisper. The computers in the lab immediately went dark and silent. The door handle rattled as someone tried to open it. "It's locked," the voice said. "Force it," came another voice. Dr. Crawford's voice. Marcus looked around desperately. There was nowhere to hide in the lab. That's when Luna did something that would be remembered as a true miracle. She looked up at the ceiling and made a sound unlike any of the others, a complex series of tones that seemed to harmonize with each other. Suddenly, every alarm in the hospital started going off at once. Fire alarms, security alarms, medical emergency alarms. The entire building filled with deafening noise. "What's happening?" Dr. Crawford's voice came through the door, confused and angry. Luna wasn't finished. She made another series of sounds, and every light in the hospital began flashing on and off in a pattern. Through the chaos, Dr. Chen led them to a hidden panel in the lab that opened to reveal a maintenance corridor Luna had shown them on the computer. As they escaped through the hidden passage, Marcus could hear Dr. Crawford shouting orders over the alarms. Find them. They can't have gone far. But Luna had bought them precious time with her incredible abilities. They made their way through the maintenance corridors, following the route Luna had mapped out. Every few minutes, Luna would make soft sounds, and Marcus realized she was somehow still monitoring the security system, making sure their path stayed clear.